Stop right there. Officer Tyler Briggs threw one arm across the entrance of Brookhaven Police Headquarters, then shoved the tall black man backward hard enough to make the worn leather folder slip from his hands. Papers scattered across the concrete as nearby officers turned to watch. Tyler looked Marcus Ellington up and down, smirked, and slowly shook his head. "You seriously walked into my station dressed like that? Turn around. You don't belong here." Marcus calmly met his eyes. "I have official business inside." Tyler laughed so loudly the officers behind him joined in. "Official business? Let me guess you got lost looking for the courthouse, or you're hoping someone mistakes you for an officer." More laughter echoed across the front steps. Marcus bent quietly to pick up his papers. Tyler deliberately planted his polished boot on the folder before Marcus could reach it. "Here's a little lesson. Around here, respect isn't something you demand at the front door. It's something you earn. And you haven't earned a single step inside this building." Marcus remained silent. That only irritated Tyler more. With a sharp click, Tyler pulled out his handcuffs. "If you're so determined to come inside, you'll enter the same way most troublemakers do." He locked the cuffs around Marcus's wrists. The laughter stopped only when the unmistakable roar of a police motorcycle escort echoed down the street. A convoy of black SUVs rolled to the front entrance. Mayor Eleanor Brooks stepped out, saw the handcuffed man, and went completely pale. "What have you done? Before we uncover the truth, tell us where you're watching from and what time it is in your city. If you believe dignity should never be judged by appearance, stay with us until the end. Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories where justice refuses to stay silent." The stunned silence outside Brookhaven Police Headquarters lasted only a few seconds. Before Mayor Eleanor Brooks could reach the entrance, Captain Harold Benton stepped in front of her and quietly whispered something that made her stop in her tracks. She glanced once more toward the handcuffed man, her expression tightening with concern before she nodded almost imperceptibly. "Not yet," Benton murmured. Marcus Ellington caught the exchange but showed no reaction. He simply lowered his eyes as if none of it concerned him. Tyler Briggs noticed the mayor's hesitation and mistook it for approval. He puffed out his chest. "Everything's under control, Madam Mayor," he called confidently. "Just another suspicious individual trying to gain unauthorized access." The mayor's lips parted slightly, but Captain Benton gently touched her elbow. "I'll handle it," he said. Without another word, the mayor allowed herself to be escorted into the building through a side entrance, leaving Tyler grinning triumphantly. "You see that?" Tyler smirked at Marcus. "Even the mayor isn't interested in hearing your excuses." A few officers laughed again. Marcus remained silent. Tyler unlocked one cuff, only to tighten his grip around Marcus's arm instead. "Move." They walked through the front doors of headquarters. The lobby reflected everything Marcus had read in reports over the previous 6 months. Beautiful marble floors, fresh paint, new patrol vehicles displayed in framed photographs, a polished image. Yet something else lingered beneath the surface. The civilians waiting for accident reports kept their heads down whenever officers passed. A young Hispanic mother pulled her little boy closer when Tyler walked by. An elderly veteran standing near the reception desk looked away instead of making eye contact. Fear. Marcus recognized it instantly. He had seen that same silent fear years earlier while investigating departments that had forgotten whom they were supposed to serve. Tyler shoved Marcus toward a metal chair. "Sit." Marcus calmly obeyed. Officer Noah Grant stood behind the reception counter, watching everything unfold. He had joined Brookhaven Police Department less than 18 months earlier, fresh out of the academy. Unlike many of the veterans around him, Noah still believed the badge represented service before authority. He leaned toward Tyler. "Did dispatch confirm anything on him?" Tyler shrugged. "Doesn't matter." "It actually does." Tyler shot him an irritated look. "I don't need permission to stop someone acting suspicious." Noah glanced toward Marcus. The man didn't fit the pattern Tyler described. His clothes were simple but spotless. His boots were worn yet carefully polished. His posture was relaxed. His breathing never changed. Most innocent people became frightened after being handcuffed. Most guilty people became defensive. Marcus became neither. He simply observed. That unsettled Noah more than anything else. Across the lobby, Sergeant Linda Chavez emerged from an office carrying several personnel files. She stopped the moment she saw Marcus sitting in handcuffs. "What happened?" Tyler answered before anyone else could speak. "Guy tried walking into headquarters like he owned the place." Linda frowned. "Did he threaten anyone?" "No." "Resist?" "No." "Carry a weapon?" "No." "Then why is he cuffed?" Tyler rolled his eyes dramatically. "Linda, don't start. I'm asking a simple question. I had reasonable suspicion. Marcus quietly looked at the floor while the two officers argued. Linda studied him carefully. Something felt strangely familiar. Not his face, his composure, his confidence. Even sitting in handcuffs, he looked less like a suspect than someone patiently waiting for a meeting to begin. She stepped closer. Sir. Marcus looked up. I'm Sergeant Linda Chavez. He nodded politely. Marcus, would you mind telling me why you're here today? Before Marcus could answer, Tyler interrupted. He claims he has an appointment. Linda looked back. Did you verify that? Tyler folded his arms. I don't need to. You absolutely do. He has no credentials. He also hasn't committed a crime. The tension between them spread through the lobby. Several officers quietly stopped working just to watch. Tyler hated being challenged in front of others, especially by Linda. She had spent 28 years wearing the badge. She had earned every promotion, unlike Tyler, who believed confidence alone made someone a good officer. Tyler walked back toward Marcus and held out his hand. Identification. Marcus calmly reached into his jacket pocket. Before he could fully remove his wallet, Tyler snatched it away. Hey! Marcus stopped speaking. Tyler flipped through the contents. Driver's license, credit cards, retired state credentials. Nothing else. He smirked. No police ID. Marcus answered quietly. I never said I was carrying one. Tyler tossed the wallet onto Marcus's lap. So, we're making progress. Linda noticed Marcus's worn leather folder lying near the entrance where no one had bothered to retrieve it. Several papers were still scattered across the polished floor. She walked over and knelt to collect them. Most were ordinary documents. One page, however, caught her attention. Its paper stock felt heavier. Official, the upper corner carried the embossed seal of the State Office of Public Safety. Before she could read further, Tyler snatched it from her hand. That's enough. Linda frowned. You didn't even look at it. I don't need to. It might explain why he's here. Tyler folded the document in half without reading a single line and shoved it back into the folder. Marcus watched the exchange without saying a word. Linda turned toward him again. Mr. Marcus. He smiled politely. Ellington. Mr. Ellington. Why haven't you defended yourself? For the first time, Marcus's expression softened. My father spent 35 years wearing a badge. Linda listened carefully. He used to tell me something. Tyler groaned. Oh, here comes the speech. Marcus ignored him. He said the easiest time to learn who someone really is when they believe no one important is watching. Those words hung in the air. Noah looked toward Marcus. Linda slowly straightened. Even Tyler hesitated for half a second before laughing. That's cute. He leaned close enough that only Marcus could hear. You're about to learn something too. Marcus remained silent. Tyler smiled coldly. In this building, I decide who belongs. At that exact moment, a dispatcher hurried out of the communications office holding a ringing desk phone. Captain Benton! The young dispatcher looked around the crowded lobby. I just received confirmation. Benton stepped forward. Confirmation of what? The dispatcher swallowed nervously. The new police chief. Everyone in the lobby instinctively looked toward the front entrance. Has officially arrived. Tyler's confident smile slowly faded. Marcus quietly lifted his eyes. For the first time that morning, he looked directly toward the front doors. The lobby grew unnaturally quiet. The new police chief has officially arrived. The dispatcher's words lingered in the air like a challenge no one knew how to answer. Officer Tyler Briggs glanced toward the entrance, then looked back at Marcus, sitting calmly in the chair. A crooked grin slowly returned to his face. Perfect timing, he said. The chief should see exactly how seriously we take security around here. Several officers nodded, eager to impress whoever their new leader might be. Marcus remained silent. Captain Harold Benton checked his watch before speaking into the radio clipped to his shoulder. All command staff, report to the conference room in 5 minutes. His eyes briefly met Marcus's, only for an instant. Then he looked away again. Tyler completely missed the exchange. Instead, he stepped directly in front of Marcus. Stand up. Marcus rose without protest. Tyler circled him like he was inspecting evidence. You know what bothers me? Marcus said nothing. You've been humiliated for nearly 20 minutes. Tyler folded his arms. Most people would be yelling by now. He leaned closer. But you keep acting like you're the one evaluating us. Marcus answered quietly. Sometimes silence tells you more than arguments ever could. Tyler laughed. Oh, don't try sounding wise. He pointed toward the security checkpoint. If you're really here for official business, then explain something. Marcus waited. Why didn't anyone inside recognize you? Marcus looked around the lobby. Maybe they haven't met me yet. Several officers laughed. Tyler slapped the security counter. Did you hear that? He thinks somebody important is waiting for him. Officer Ethan Ross walked over holding a clipboard. Everything okay? Tyler smirked. Our mystery guest claims people inside are expecting him. Ethan shook his head. We've got enough delusional people around here. Noah Grant frowned. Can we stop assuming? Tyler looked at him. Problem. We still haven't confirmed anything. We don't need to. We actually do. Tyler sighed dramatically. Noah, this isn't the academy. You'll understand after a few years. Noah didn't answer. Instead, he walked toward Marcus. Sir. Marcus looked at him. Would you like some water? Tyler scoffed. Seriously? We don't know how long this is going to take. Marcus smiled politely. Thank you. Noah returned a moment later with a paper cup. Marcus accepted it. Appreciate it. That tiny exchange didn't go unnoticed. Linda watched Noah carefully. Compassion. Respect. Simple things. Things she feared were slowly disappearing inside Brookhaven Police Department. Tyler suddenly reached for Marcus's leather folder again. I'm still not convinced. Marcus calmly tightened his hand on the folder. For what purpose? I want another look. You've already searched it. I changed my mind. Marcus released it without resistance. Tyler dumped the contents across the reception desk. Legal papers. A notebook. Several envelopes. Nothing remarkable. Then one sealed envelope slid free. It carried the official seal of the mayor's office. Tyler picked it up. What's this? Marcus answered evenly. A sealed government document. Tyler smirked. So you admit you're carrying government paperwork. I never denied it. Tyler waved the envelope toward Ethan. See? This keeps getting better. Linda stepped closer. Tyler. What? Don't open it. He looked at her. Why not? It's addressed to someone. I don't care. Tampering with official correspondence is a serious issue. Tyler rolled his eyes. Oh, please. He turned the envelope over. The recipient's name faced downward. Without thinking, he slid a finger beneath the flap. Marcus spoke for the first time with unmistakable firmness. I wouldn't do that. Tyler stopped. For reasons he couldn't explain, those 4 words unsettled him, only for a second. Then his arrogance returned. Or what? Marcus calmly met his stare. You'll create a problem that cannot be undone. Tyler laughed loudly. I've heard enough. He tossed the unopened envelope back onto the pile. No secret documents. No hidden badge. No special treatment. You came here pretending to matter, Marcus answered quietly. I came here hoping professionalism still mattered. The words landed harder than anyone expected. Noah lowered his eyes. Linda slowly exhaled. Even Ethan looked uncomfortable. Only Tyler remained unmoved. Professionalism? He chuckled. Professionalism starts with knowing where you belong. He pointed toward the lobby doors. You belong outside. Marcus stood perfectly still. I was invited. By who? Marcus looked directly into Tyler's eyes. You'll find out soon enough. Tyler's patience finally snapped. I've had it. He grabbed Marcus by the arm. We're taking a walk. Linda immediately stepped forward. Tyler. He ignored her. Where are you taking him? Parking lot. For what? I'm searching his vehicle. Linda stared at him. Do you have probable cause? I have instinct. That's not probable cause. Tyler shrugged. It's enough for me. Marcus quietly followed without resisting. Outside, the summer sun reflected off the windows of headquarters. Employees entering the building slowed down as Tyler marched Marcus across the parking lot. Every pair of eyes turned toward them. Tyler stopped beside an aging dark blue pickup truck. He laughed. I should have guessed. Marcus looked at the truck. It still runs. Barely. Tyler knocked on the faded paint with his flashlight. This thing belongs in a scrapyard. Several officers standing nearby laughed again. Tyler turned toward the growing crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, he spread his arms dramatically. Our mystery VIP arrives in this. More laughter. Marcus simply inserted the key into the driver's door. Tyler immediately blocked him. Step back. Marcus obeyed. Tyler searched the cab. Toolbox. Blanket. Flashlight. Old thermos. Notebook. Nothing suspicious. He searched beneath the seats. Nothing. Behind the seat. Nothing. The glove compartment. Insurance papers. Vehicle registration. A folded city map. Nothing else. Tyler slammed the door shut harder than necessary. So that's it? Marcus nodded. That's it. Tyler forced another smile, but frustration had begun creeping into his voice. Nothing he searched supported his assumptions. Nothing Marcus said contradicted itself. Nothing about the man matched the image Tyler had created. Yet Tyler refused to admit even the possibility that he might be wrong. Because if Marcus wasn't who Tyler believed he was, then Tyler's judgment had failed, and Tyler's pride would never allow that. Just then, Captain Benton hurried out of the building. His expression had changed completely. Urgency. Concern. He scanned the parking lot until his eyes landed on Marcus. Without realizing it, Tyler stepped directly between them. "Captain," Tyler said proudly, "I've secured the suspect." Benton didn't answer. His eyes never left Marcus. The silence stretched. Then Benton spoke in a voice so controlled it almost sounded forced. "Officer Briggs, bring him inside." Tyler smiled confidently. "Yes, sir." He tightened his grip on Marcus's arm, believing he was about to present the department's newest arrest to its incoming police chief. He had no idea. He was escorting the new chief himself. Captain Harold Benton's voice carried none of its usual authority, only restraint. "Officer Briggs, bring him inside." Tyler interpreted the order exactly the way he wanted. He flashed a triumphant grin at the officers gathering near the parking lot. "You hear that?" he said proudly. "Looks like Command wants to question our mystery visitor personally." He tightened his grip around Marcus Ellington's arm. "Let's not keep them waiting." Marcus offered no resistance. The walk back to headquarters felt longer than before. Employees standing near the entrance whispered among themselves. Some stared openly at the handcuffed black man being escorted through the front doors. Others instinctively stepped aside as Tyler passed, wearing the satisfied expression of an officer convinced he had just prevented a major security breach. Inside the lobby, dispatch phones continued ringing. Printers hummed. Officers hurried through hallways carrying files. Yet beneath the routine activity, an invisible tension spread from one end of the building to the other. Everyone had heard the same announcement. The new police chief had arrived. No one knew where he was. Tyler pushed Marcus into the center of the lobby. "Stay right here." Marcus remained standing. His posture was still straight. His breathing remained steady. His expression never changed. Tyler couldn't understand it. Most people became anxious after nearly an hour of humiliation. Marcus seemed patient, almost as though he expected every minute unfolding exactly the way it should. Sergeant Linda Chavez walked toward Captain Benton. In a low voice, she asked, "Captain, is this really how you want the department's first morning with the new chief to begin?" Benton kept his eyes on Marcus. "No. Then why haven't you stopped this?" For several seconds, he said nothing. Finally, he answered quietly, "Because sometimes the truth has to reveal itself." Linda frowned. "I don't understand." "You will." Before she could ask another question, Tyler interrupted. "Captain!" Benton turned. "I've completed the vehicle search. Find anything?" "Nothing." Tyler forced a laugh. "He's just good at hiding it." Marcus looked directly at Tyler. There was never anything to hide. Tyler ignored him. Instead, he addressed the officers gathering around. "Some people think staying calm makes them look innocent." He pointed at Marcus. "It doesn't. It tells me they've practiced lying." A few officers nodded. Others remained silent. Officer Noah Grant stepped forward. "Respectfully, sir." Tyler sighed dramatically. "What now?" "We've searched him." "Yes." "We searched his truck." "Yes." "He hasn't resisted." "No." "He hasn't threatened anyone." "No." "He hasn't broken into the building." "No." "So," Noah paused, "what crime are we investigating?" The question landed heavily across the lobby. Nobody answered. Tyler's jaw tightened. "We're investigating suspicious behavior." Noah remained calm. "Suspicion has to lead somewhere. It already has." "Where?" Tyler stepped closer. "To my judgment," Noah held his gaze. "With respect, sir, our judgment is supposed to be supported by facts." The room fell silent. Several younger officers quietly exchanged nervous glances. Linda watched Noah with quiet admiration. Very few rookies challenged senior officers, especially in front of the entire department. Tyler's face reddened. "You think you know policing better than I do?" "No. I think procedure protects everyone." Tyler laughed bitterly. "Procedure." He turned toward Marcus. "You know what happens when officers hide behind procedure?" Marcus answered softly. "They stop hiding behind prejudice." Every conversation stopped. Even the dispatchers looked up. Tyler stared at Marcus for several long seconds. His pride had carried him through every confrontation that morning, but Marcus never gave him anger, never gave him fear, never gave him disrespect. Every calm answer somehow made Tyler feel smaller. That feeling infuriated him. Without warning, Tyler stepped forward and shoved Marcus backward. The metal chair behind Marcus scraped loudly across the marble floor. "You think you're smarter than everyone here?" Marcus steadied himself without raising his hands. "I think every person deserves to be treated with dignity." "Dignity?" Tyler laughed. "You walked in here looking like a drifter." Marcus calmly looked down at his faded brown jacket. "My clothes don't determine my character." "No," Tyler sneered, "but first impressions matter." Marcus met his eyes again. "They do. And today, you're making one your officers will remember for a very long time." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Tyler's face, only for a heartbeat. Then it disappeared. Captain Benton suddenly checked his phone. A secure message had appeared. Mayor has entered the building. 5 minutes. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. The moment he had hoped to delay had arrived. Across the lobby, Officer Ethan Ross leaned toward Tyler. "You think the new chief's already upstairs?" Tyler shrugged confidently. "Probably getting a briefing." Ethan chuckled. "I'd hate to be the first officer who screws up in front of him." Tyler laughed. "I'm not worried." Marcus quietly looked toward the elevator doors. Neither was he. The elevator chimed. Every head turned instinctively. The door slid open. Mayor Eleanor Brooks stepped into the lobby, surrounded by 2 city officials and members of her security detail. Conversations instantly died. Officers stood straighter. Tyler smiled proudly and walked toward her. "Madame Mayor." She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes searched the lobby, past the reception desk, past Captain Benton, past the gathered officers, until they settled on Marcus, still wearing handcuffs, still standing exactly where Tyler had left him. The mayor's expression hardened. "What happened here?" Tyler answered before anyone else could speak. "My officers intercepted a suspicious individual attempting unauthorized access." The mayor didn't even look at him. She kept staring at Marcus. Captain Benton slowly removed his cap. The gesture confused everyone. Linda noticed it immediately. So did Noah. Benton only removed his cap. For one person, a superior officer. Marcus calmly returned his gaze. Neither man spoke. The silence became unbearable. Tyler finally frowned. "Captain?" Benton ignored him. Instead, he took one measured step toward Marcus. Then another. Tyler instinctively moved to block his path. "I've got him under control, sir." Benton's voice became firm for the first time all morning. "Officer Briggs, step aside." Tyler blinked. "Sir?" "That." Benton's eyes never left Marcus. "It's an order." Tyler hesitated. For the first time that day, he wasn't completely sure he was standing on the right side of the situation. Officer Tyler Briggs stood frozen. Captain Harold Benton's command echoed through the lobby. "Officer Briggs, step aside." For a brief moment, Tyler considered obeying. Then pride won. "Captain," he said cautiously, "with all due respect, this individual is being detained until we determine exactly who he is." Benton's expression didn't change. "I gave you an order." Tyler forced a smile. "And I'm trying to protect this department." Marcus Ellington quietly watched the exchange without saying a word. Around them, nearly every employee inside Brookhaven Police Headquarters had stopped working. Dispatchers paused with headsets still on. Detectives leaned out of their offices. Civilian clerks stood behind the reception desk, pretending to organize paperwork while listening to every word. Officer Noah Grant slowly walked beside Sergeant Linda Chavez. "Something's wrong," he whispered. Linda kept watching Captain Benton. "No," she answered softly. "Something has been wrong for a long time." Tyler pointed toward Marcus. "This man refused to identify himself properly." Marcus calmly replied, "I identified myself the moment I arrived." "You gave me your name?" "Yes, but not your purpose. I told you I had official business." Tyler laughed. "And expected me to believe that?" Marcus looked directly at him. "I expected you to verify it." Those 6 words struck harder than any insult. Several officers lowered their eyes. Because everyone knew. That was exactly what Tyler should have done. Instead, he had assumed, judged, escalated. Captain Benton finally spoke again. "Officer Briggs." "Sir, when this man arrived..." "Yes." "Did you contact my office?" "No." "Did you contact Human Resources?" "No." "Did you call the mayor's office?" "No." Tyler's confidence began to weaken. "I didn't think it was necessary." Captain Benton nodded once. "I know." He took another slow step toward Marcus. "And did you contact Internal Affairs?" "No." "The State Office of Public Safety?" "No." "The Commissioner's Office?" Tyler frowned. "Why would I?" Benton's voice remained remarkably calm. "Because those are all places a professional investigator checks before deciding he already knows the truth." The lobby became painfully quiet. Marcus still hadn't spoken. He didn't need to. Tyler was slowly exposing himself. Trying to recover, Tyler folded his arm. "Captain, I made a judgment call." "No." Benton answered immediately. "You made assumptions. They're the same thing." "No, officer." His voice hardened. "They are not." Before Tyler could respond, the receptionist hurried over carrying a visitor log. "Captain." She looked nervous. I think you should see this." Benton accepted the clipboard. At the very top of the page was a handwritten entry. Marcus Ellington. Appointment, 9 a.m. Authorized by Captain Harold Benton. Benton slowly closed the clipboard. When did he sign in? The receptionist swallowed. About 45 minutes ago. Benton looked toward Tyler. So, he had an appointment. Tyler stared at the log. His heartbeat quickened. He still refused to identify his purpose. Marcus finally spoke. My purpose was written beside my name. Tyler looked again. It was. He simply had never bothered to check. Several officers exchanged uneasy looks. One detective quietly muttered, "That's not good." Linda crossed her arms. "It gets worse." Tyler's voice rose defensively. "Anyone could write their name in that book." Marcus nodded slightly. "That's true." Tyler seized on the answer. "Exactly," Marcus continued, "which is why professional officers verify information before placing someone in handcuffs." Another uncomfortable silence spread through the room. Tyler could feel control slipping away. He needed something. Anything. Then his eyes landed on Marcus's faded leather folder resting on the reception counter. "I still haven't finished examining that." He strode across the lobby and grabbed it again. Linda immediately stepped forward. "Tyler." "What?" "Leave it alone. I'm conducting an investigation." "No," she answered firmly. "You're trying to justify one." Tyler ignored her. He opened the folder completely. Inside were several neatly organized files. Evaluation reports, training certificates, letters bearing official state seals. Most of the documents were clipped together. One thick envelope remained sealed. Across the front, bold black letters read, "Confidential." Tyler smiled. "There it is." Marcus's eyes remained calm. "I advised you not to open that." Tyler looked up. "And I told you. I don't take orders from suspects." He slid his thumb beneath the seal. Captain Benton spoke sharply. "Officer Briggs." Tyler hesitated. For the first time all morning, there was genuine warning in Benton's voice. "Do not open that envelope." Tyler frowned. "Captain, it's evidence." "No." "It belongs to the city." "No." "It belongs to this department." "No." Benton stepped closer. "It belongs to the man standing in front of you." Tyler stared at him. "What?" Before anyone could move, the elevator chimed once again. The lobby doors opened almost simultaneously. 3 members of the city council entered alongside the city manager. Behind them came the city's legal counsel. Every officer instinctively straightened. Mayor Eleanor Brooks walked to the center of the lobby. This time, she didn't stop. She walked directly toward Marcus. Tyler smiled nervously. "Madam Mayor, everything is under control." She walked past him without acknowledging his presence. The security detail followed. City officials followed. Captain Benton stepped aside. Marcus remained standing quietly in handcuffs. The mayor stopped less than 3 feet away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The lobby became so silent that the ticking of the wall clock seemed unusually loud. Then Mayor Brooks looked at the steel cuffs around Marcus's wrists. A mixture of disappointment and disbelief crossed her face. She turned slowly. Her eyes settled on Tyler Briggs. "Officer." Her voice was calm, too calm. "Who authorized this detention?" Tyler swallowed. "I did, Madame Mayor." "And on what evidence?" He refused to explain why he was here. Marcus answered gently. "I explained." Tyler interrupted. "It wasn't convincing." The mayor looked back at Marcus, then at Captain Benton, then once again at Tyler. Finally, she spoke words that made every officer in the building hold their breath. "I certainly hope." She paused just long enough for the silence to become unbearable. "You've documented every decision you've made this morning." Tyler forced a confident smile. "Of course." Mayor Brooks slowly nodded. "Good." Her eyes drifted toward the security cameras mounted above the lobby. "Because before this day is over, every second of it is going to matter." For the first time since Marcus had arrived, Tyler Briggs felt a chill run down his spine. No one moved. Mayor Eleanor Brooks' final sentence lingered over the lobby like an approaching storm. "Because before this day is over, every second of it is going to matter." Officer Tyler Briggs forced himself to smile. "Madam Mayor, I assure you, I followed department policy." The mayor didn't answer. Instead, she slowly turned toward the wall of security monitors mounted above the reception desk. "Captain Benton." "Yes, Madame Mayor. Is the entire lobby covered by surveillance?" "It is." "With audio?" "Yes." "Continuous recording?" 24 hours a day. Tyler's stomach tightened. For the first time that morning, he replayed the last hour inside his own mind. The shove at the front entrance. The baton pressed against Marcus's chest. The laughter. The handcuffs. The search. The insults. Everything. Captain Benton noticed the change in Tyler's face. He had seen that expression before. It usually appeared when an officer finally realized that confidence could not erase evidence. Meanwhile, Marcus remained remarkably calm. His wrists were still restrained. His jacket was wrinkled from being searched. His folder had been opened several times, yet there wasn't a trace of anger in his eyes. Officer Noah Grant quietly stepped closer. "Sir." Marcus looked toward him. "I'm sorry." Marcus gave him a faint smile. "You have nothing to apologize for. I should have spoken up sooner." "You did." Noah lowered his eyes. "I didn't stop it." Marcus's voice remained gentle. Doing the right thing rarely begins with stopping someone. It begins with refusing to become like them. Those words stayed with Noah. Sergeant Linda Chavez heard them too. She glanced toward Tyler. He wasn't listening. He was too busy trying to recover control. Tyler cleared his throat. "Captain," Benton looked at him. "I still believe we should identify this man before releasing him." Marcus quietly reached into his jacket pocket. Tyler instinctively took one step forward. "Don't." Marcus stopped immediately. "I wasn't resisting." "What were you reaching for?" "My business card." Tyler laughed. "A business card?" Marcus nodded. "You've ignored everything else I've offered, so perhaps you'll read that." Tyler held out his hand. "Fine." Marcus slowly removed a simple black leather card holder. Tyler snatched it away. Inside was a single thick white card. No company logo. No decoration. Only a name. Marcus Ellington. Beneath it, a phone number. Nothing else. Tyler flipped the card over. Blank. He smirked. "That's it?" Marcus nodded. "That's enough." Tyler laughed and held the card up for everyone nearby. No title. No organization. No badge. Nothing. He tossed it onto the reception counter. "If you wanted people to think you were important, you should have printed something more impressive." Marcus calmly answered, "People who truly know me have never needed a title printed on a card." Linda watched Marcus carefully. Everything about him contradicted Tyler's assumptions. There was no desperation, no attempt to impress anyone, no demands, only quiet confidence. She walked toward the leather folder still resting on the counter. "Captain," Benton nodded. "Go ahead." For the first time that morning, Tyler didn't stop her. Linda carefully opened the folder. Every document had been organized with extraordinary precision. Training evaluations, leadership assessments, state certifications, letters of commendation. One document immediately caught her attention. Across the top appeared the seal of the State Office of Public Safety. Below it, only one line was visible before another page partially covered the rest. Appointment recommendation. Linda's eyes narrowed. She gently lifted the page. Before she could continue reading, Benton quietly spoke. "Sergeant." She looked up. "That's enough." She immediately understood. Whatever she had almost seen, she wasn't supposed to. She closed the folder without another word. Tyler noticed. "What was it?" Linda answered honestly. "I don't know. You were reading it." I stopped. "Why?" "Because Captain Benton asked me to." Tyler frowned. "Since when are confidential documents more important than an investigation?" Benton looked directly at him. "Since they became confidential." Tyler opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. Nothing made sense anymore. If Marcus were simply an ordinary civilian, why was Benton protecting those documents? Why had the mayor personally come downstairs? Why hadn't anyone ordered Marcus removed? Questions began replacing certainty. Across the lobby, two detectives whispered quietly. "You know him?" "No." "You?" "Never seen him." "So why's the mayor acting like this?" "I have no idea." One of the civilian receptionists leaned toward another. "Did you notice something?" "What?" "Nobody important has asked what crime he committed." The other receptionist blinked. "You're right. They've only been asking why he was arrested." The realization spread silently through the lobby. Officer Ethan Ross looked toward Tyler. "You sure about this?" Tyler answered immediately. "Absolutely." But his voice lacked the confidence it carried an hour earlier. The elevator chimed again. This time, 3 sharply dressed officials stepped into the lobby. None wore police uniforms. Each carried a black portfolio embossed with the gold seal of the State Office of Public Safety. Every conversation stopped. Captain Benton walked forward to greet them. "Thank you for coming." The oldest official nodded. "We came as quickly as we could." His eyes swept across the lobby, then settled on Marcus. For just a fraction of a second, respect appeared in his expression. He quickly hid it. Tyler noticed. His heartbeat quickened again. The senior official turned to Benton. "Has today's appointment begun?" Benton answered carefully. "Not exactly." The official looked toward Marcus's handcuffs. "I can see that." Nobody laughed. Nobody even breathed loudly. The atmosphere had completely changed. Mayor Brooks folded her hands in front of her. "Captain." "Yes, Madame Mayor." "How much longer?" Benton glanced at his watch. Less than 10 minutes. Marcus quietly looked toward the large clock hanging above the reception desk. 9:53. Only 7 minutes remained until 9 o'clock's delayed appointment would officially begin. Tyler looked from Marcus to the mayor, to the state officials, to Captain Benton. For the first time all morning, he asked himself a question he should have asked the moment Marcus arrived. Who exactly have I been talking to? No one answered, because in only a few more minutes, the entire department was about to find out. The enormous clock above the reception desk ticked with painful precision. 9:54 a.m. Only a handful of minutes remained before the scheduled appointment. Yet Marcus Ellington still stood in the middle of the lobby wearing handcuffs. Officer Tyler Briggs refused to accept what every instinct around him was beginning to suggest. He looked at the mayor, at Captain Benton, at the officials from the State Office of Public Safety, then back at Marcus. There had to be another explanation. There had to be, because the alternative was impossible. Tyler suddenly squared his shoulders. I'm not removing those cuffs. Captain Benton looked at him carefully. No one asked you to. Tyler frowned. Then why is everyone staring at me like I've done something wrong? No one answered. That silence only fueled his frustration. He stepped directly in front of Marcus once again. I've dealt with people like you before. Marcus calmly lifted his eyes. People like me? You stay quiet. You dress ordinary. You pretend to have connections. You wait for someone important to rescue you. Marcus spoke evenly. I haven't asked anyone to rescue me. Tyler smirked. You won't have to. He gestured toward the mayor. They're already trying. Marcus shook his head gently. No. They're waiting. Tyler laughed. Waiting for what? Marcus's voice remained calm. For you. Those two words unsettled Tyler far more than he cared to admit. Officer Ethan Ross stepped closer. Tyler. What? Maybe we should slow down. Tyler snapped his head toward him. You too? I'm just saying. The mayor hasn't questioned him once. Tyler immediately answered, Exactly. Because she's letting me do my job. Captain Benton quietly closed his eyes. He knew Tyler had crossed the point where reason could no longer reach him. Pride had taken control, and pride was always loudest moments before collapse. Sergeant Linda Chavez slowly approached Marcus. Mr. Ellington. Marcus nodded politely. Sergeant, I owe you an apology. Marcus smiled faintly. You don't. I've worn this badge for 28 years. She looked around the lobby. I should have stopped this much sooner. Marcus answered softly. You tried. It wasn't enough. It mattered. Linda lowered her eyes. His kindness somehow made her feel even worse. Across the room, Noah quietly approached Captain Benton. Sir. Benton turned. Shouldn't we tell everyone? The captain slowly shook his head. Not yet. Why? Because every decision made after this moment will reveal who these officers truly are. Noah looked across the lobby. Tyler was still arguing, still trying to prove himself right. He suddenly understood. This was no longer about Marcus. It was about the department. Who could be trusted? Who couldn't? Tyler abruptly reached toward Marcus's wrists. Everyone expected him to unlock the cuffs. Instead, he tightened them. The sharp metallic click echoed across the marble floor. Linda's eyes widened. Tyler! Marcus's face tightened ever so slightly from the pressure, but he made no sound. What are you doing? Noah demanded. Tyler didn't even look at him. I'm making sure my suspect stays secured. Captain Benton's voice became ice cold. Officer Briggs. Tyler finally turned. Sir? Remove the handcuffs. Tyler stood his ground. I respectfully refuse. The entire lobby froze. No one could remember the last time a patrol officer openly refused a direct order from a captain. Benton stared at him for several seconds. Repeat that, I said. Tyler swallowed. I respectfully refuse. Mayor Brooks slowly stepped forward. Her disappointment was unmistakable. Officer Briggs. Tyler straightened proudly. Yes, Madame Mayor. Do you understand what insubordination is? I do. Then explain why you're committing it. Tyler looked toward Marcus. Because if I remove these cuffs and he's dangerous, that's on me. Marcus quietly spoke. I've been standing here for nearly an hour. Tyler ignored him. Marcus continued. I've answered every question. I've never threatened anyone. I've never attempted to leave. I've never resisted. He looked directly into Tyler's eyes. So, tell me, what exactly are you protecting these people from? The question echoed through the lobby. Tyler searched for an answer. None came. Instead, he became angry. He pointed a finger inches from Marcus's face. You know what I think? Marcus waited. I think this whole calm act is fake. I think you're manipulating everyone. I think you're counting on your expensive lawyers showing up. Marcus answered quietly. I didn't bring lawyers. Tyler laughed. No? Marcus slowly turned his head toward the group of officials from the state office. I didn't need to. The oldest official adjusted his glasses. He said nothing, but his expression remained unreadable. Tyler misunderstood the silence as support. He turned toward everyone gathered. Listen carefully. His voice filled the lobby. If this department starts backing down every time someone claims they have connections, we stop being police officers. Several officers shifted uncomfortably. No one applauded. No one agreed. The confidence Tyler expected simply wasn't there anymore. Officer Noah Grant took one slow step forward. I'd like to make a statement. Captain Benton nodded. Go ahead. Noah faced the room. I witnessed Officer Briggs refuse to verify an appointment. I witnessed him ignore department procedure. I witnessed him search a vehicle without probable cause. I witnessed him detain a cooperative citizen. And I witnessed him refuse 2 direct supervisory instructions. Every sentence struck Tyler harder than the last. You serious? Tyler barked. Noah didn't flinch. I'm serious about the oath I took. Tyler looked toward Ethan. You saw things differently. Ethan hesitated. All eyes turned toward him. For several long seconds, he said nothing. Then he slowly shook his head. No. Tyler blinked. What? I saw exactly what Noah described. Tyler's face lost color. On. The officers who had laughed earlier quietly looked away. None were willing to defend him now, because deep down, they all knew the truth. They had laughed not because Marcus deserved it, but because Tyler had made it seem acceptable. The massive clock above the lobby clicked again. 9:09 a.m. Captain Benton removed his own badge from his belt and held it respectfully against his chest. Every senior officer in the lobby instinctively copied him. Tyler frowned. What are you doing? Nobody answered. Mayor Eleanor Brooks smiled faintly. Right on time. The elevator doors slid open one final time. A uniformed ceremonial officer stepped into the lobby carrying a polished walnut presentation case. He stopped in front of Captain Benton. Sir, it's ready. Benton nodded once. Then he turned toward Marcus. His voice carried through every corner of the building. Mr. Ellington, I believe we've kept everyone waiting long enough. Every heartbeat in the lobby seemed to stop at once. Tyler slowly looked from Benton to the presentation case, then back to the calm black man still standing in handcuffs. For the first time that morning, fear completely replaced arrogance. Fear settled over the lobby like a heavy fog. Captain Harold Benton stood perfectly still, his badge resting respectfully against his chest. Every lieutenant, every sergeant, every member of the command staff mirrored the gesture. Only Officer Tyler Briggs remained frozen, one hand still gripping the chain of Marcus Ellington's handcuffs. He looked around in confusion. What is everyone doing? No one answered. The ceremonial officer stepped forward, carrying the polished walnut presentation case with both hands. He stopped directly in front of Captain Benton. Sir. Benton accepted the case without opening it. Then, instead of keeping it for himself, he turned and walked slowly toward Marcus. Each step echoed across the marble floor. The entire lobby watched in absolute silence. Tyler instinctively moved to block him. Captain. Benton didn't stop. Move. But sir, he's still being detained. Benton's eyes hardened. The only thing being detained this morning has been this department's integrity. Tyler's mouth fell slightly open. Captain Benton stopped only inches from Marcus. He looked at the steel cuffs around Marcus's wrists for a long moment before speaking. His voice carried unmistakable regret. Mr. Ellington, on behalf of every honorable officer in this building, I am deeply sorry. Marcus looked at him quietly. You have nothing to apologize for, Captain. I should have stopped this sooner. Marcus shook his head gently. No, you stopped it exactly when the truth could no longer be denied. Those words seemed directed at everyone standing in the lobby. Not just Benton. Mayor Eleanor Brooks stepped forward beside them. She looked at Tyler. Officer Briggs. His voice trembled. Yes. Madame Mayor, unlock those handcuffs. Tyler hesitated. His fingers wouldn't move. Captain Benton spoke again. That is now the 3rd direct order. The realization finally hit. Tyler's hands began to shake. He reached for the handcuff key clipped to his duty belt. It slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the marble floor. The sharp metallic sound echoed through the building. No one moved to help him. He bent quickly, picked it up, and struggled to fit the tiny key into the lock. His hands were trembling so badly that he missed twice. Marcus remained completely still. Finally, click. The first cuff opened. Click. The second followed. The steel bracelets slipped from Marcus's wrists. Red marks circled both of them. Tyler stared at those marks. For the first time all morning, he realized they were there because of him. Marcus slowly rubbed one wrist. not angrily, simply restoring circulation. Then he did something no one expected. He bent down, picked up the handcuffs, carefully folded the chain, and handed them back to Tyler. "These belong to the department," Marcus said calmly. "You'll need them." Tyler couldn't bring himself to take them. Captain Benton accepted them instead. Without another word, he handed the cuffs to Sergeant Linda Chavez. "Evidence." Linda understood immediately. She placed them inside an evidence bag brought by one of the detectives. Every action was now being documented. Tyler watched in disbelief. "My handcuffs. They're evidence?" Captain Benton answered quietly. "So is the surveillance footage. So are the witness statements. So is every report you'll write today." Tyler's breathing became shallow. Mayor Brooks nodded toward the ceremonial officer. "It's time." The officer stepped forward. Captain Benton slowly opened the walnut presentation case. Inside rested a polished gold badge, unlike any worn by patrol officers. At its center gleamed the seal of the city of Brookhaven. Across the top, engraved in bold letters, Chief of Police. A collective gasp swept through the lobby. Tyler stared at the badge, then at Marcus, then back at the badge. His face turned pale. "No," he whispered. "No." Captain Benton lifted the badge with both hands. He stood directly before Marcus. Marcus Ellington. For the first time that morning, Marcus stood at full attention. The room instinctively did the same. Benton's voice became formal. "By authority of the mayor of Brookhaven, the city council, and the state office of public safety, it is my honor to present you with the badge of Chief of Police." He carefully pinned the badge onto Marcus's jacket. The moment the clasp locked into place, every command officer snapped to attention. Then, as one, they saluted. The sound of dozens of hands striking uniform caps echoed across the lobby. Only Tyler remained motionless. His eyes were fixed on the gold badge. Marcus slowly returned every salute. Not proudly, not triumphantly, respectfully. The mayor smiled. "Ladies and gentlemen," she turned toward the stunned employees gathered throughout the building. "It is my privilege to introduce the new chief of the Brookhaven Police Department." She paused. Chief Marcus Ellington. Applause didn't come. No one could move. The revelation was too overwhelming. Officer Ethan Ross whispered under his breath, "Oh my God." One detective removed his glasses. Another quietly lowered his head. Several civilian employees exchanged stunned looks. Officer Noah Grant stood straighter than he ever had before. A smile slowly appeared on Linda Chavez's face. Not because Tyler had been proven wrong, because Brookhaven finally had the leader it desperately needed. Tyler took one uncertain step backward. His voice cracked. "This can't be happening." Marcus turned toward him. "It already has." Tyler shook his head repeatedly. I didn't know." Marcus answered with the same calm tone he had carried all morning. "You're right. You didn't." Tyler desperately searched for something to say. "If someone had told me," Marcus gently interrupted, "would you have treated me differently?" Silence. Tyler opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Marcus took one slow step closer. That's the question every officer in this building should ask themselves. His eyes swept across the lobby. If my identity was the only thing standing between dignity and humiliation, then dignity was never the standard. The words settled heavily over everyone present. Even the reporters who had quietly entered the lobby stopped writing. No one wanted to interrupt. Marcus looked back at Tyler. "I arrived here wearing the same clothes, the same boots, the same face, the same name. The only thing that changed." He lightly touched the gold badge now pinned to his jacket. "Was what you believed about me." No one in the building could look away, because everyone understood. The real trial had never been Marcus Ellington's. It had been theirs. No one applauded. No one whispered. The silence inside Brookhaven Police Headquarters was far louder than the laughter that had echoed through the building an hour earlier. Chief Marcus Ellington slowly looked around the lobby. The gold badge pinned to his jacket reflected the morning sunlight pouring through the glass entrance, yet his eyes never carried triumph, only disappointment. Officer Tyler Briggs stood motionless. His breathing had become uneven. His voice barely escaped. "Chief." Marcus calmly met his eyes. "For nearly an hour, Officer Briggs, you never once asked yourself whether I deserved to be treated with dignity." Tyler lowered his head. "I made a mistake." Marcus answered immediately. "No, you made dozens." The words were firm, not angry, just true. Marcus slowly walked toward the large security monitor mounted above the reception desk. "Captain Benton." "Yes, Chief. Please secure every recording from 8:30 this morning until now. It's already being copied." "Good." Marcus nodded. "No footage will be deleted. No report will be altered. No statement will be rewritten. Every officer understood exactly what that meant. There would be no quiet cover-up, no private warning, no forgotten paperwork. Everything would be documented. Mayor Eleanor Brooks stepped beside Marcus. I've already instructed the city's legal office to preserve every digital record. The city attorney opened his portfolio. My office has initiated an independent review effective immediately. Tyler slowly looked up. Independent. Marcus nodded. Yes. You won't be investigated by your friends. You'll be investigated by facts. Captain Benton walked toward the reception counter and picked up the visitor log. He opened it to the first page. In my 33 years wearing this uniform, I've learned something. He held the book high enough for everyone to see. The truth usually arrives quietly. He pointed to Marcus's signature. This man followed every rule. He signed in. He arrived on time. He identified himself. He cooperated. He never raised his voice. He slowly closed the book. So tell me. He looked around the lobby. Which one of our procedures failed today? Nobody answered, because everyone knew the answer. The procedures had not failed. People had. Marcus turned toward Officer Noah Grant. Officer Grant. Yes, Chief. You spoke when remaining silent would have been easier. Yes, sir. You reminded your fellow officers about procedure. He tried. Marcus smiled faintly. You did more than try. He extended his hand. I'm proud we'll be serving in the same department. Noah shook it with visible emotion. It'll be an honor, Chief. Marcus then faced Sergeant Linda Chavez. Sergeant. She stood at attention. Chief. You challenged misconduct even when it came from someone wearing the same badge. I wish I'd done more. Marcus shook his head. Integrity isn't measured by perfection. It's measured by the willingness to stand alone. Linda's eyes became moist. Thank you, Chief. Marcus looked toward Captain Benton. Captain. Yes, Chief. You knew who I was. I did. You also knew exactly what this department needed to see. Benton nodded slowly. I hated every minute of it. Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. So did I. The two men exchanged a quiet look of mutual respect. Then Marcus turned. Officer Tyler Briggs still hadn't moved. His face had turned almost completely pale. Marcus walked until only a few feet separated them. Officer Briggs. Tyler swallowed. Sir. Marcus looked down at Tyler's nameplate. You know what I noticed first about you? Tyler shook his head. No, Chief. It wasn't your arrogance. It wasn't your assumptions. It wasn't even your refusal to follow orders. Tyler looked confused. Marcus continued. It was how comfortable you were humiliating someone. When you believed nobody important was watching. The sentence struck every officer standing nearby, because they had watched it happen. Some had laughed. Some had looked away. Some had remained silent. Marcus slowly turned away from Tyler and addressed the entire department. I wasn't testing your security. I wasn't testing your intelligence. I was witnessing your culture. His voice filled the lobby. A police department is judged by how it treats people with no power. Not politicians, not judges, not chiefs. Ordinary people. He paused. And today, many of you forgot that. No one could meet his eyes. Marcus looked toward the surveillance camera. Those cameras captured something far more important than misconduct. He slowly swept his gaze across the room. They captured choices. Some chose mockery. Some chose silence. Some chose courage. Every one of those choices will matter. Mayor Brooks stepped beside him once more. Chief Ellington. The City Council supports whatever disciplinary action you believe is appropriate. Marcus nodded respectfully. Thank you. He turned toward Captain Benton. Captain. Yes, Chief. Relieve Officer Tyler Briggs of his duty weapon. The words hit like thunder. Tyler looked up sharply. What? Benton didn't hesitate. Officer Briggs. Remove your firearm. Tyler instinctively reached toward his holster. His hand stopped halfway. The badge on Marcus's chest reminded him there was no longer any room to argue. Slowly, he unclipped his service weapon. Benton accepted it. Badge. Tyler closed his eyes. One trembling hand reached toward his chest. He removed the silver badge he had once worn so proudly. For several seconds, he couldn't let go. Finally, he placed it into Captain Benton's hand. The metallic sound it made echoed throughout the silent lobby. Marcus watched quietly. Officer Briggs. Tyler stared at the floor. Effective immediately, you are relieved of all law enforcement authority pending a full administrative and independent investigation. Tyler's shoulders slumped. This isn't just because of today, Marcus answered calmly. No, it's because today revealed who you've been for much longer. Captain Benton nodded. We've received 23 citizen complaints involving Officer Briggs over the past 4 years. Gasps spread through the room. Linda closed her eyes. She hadn't known the number was that high. Benton continued. Most were dismissed for lack of evidence. Marcus looked toward the surveillance cameras again. Evidence has a way of appearing. When people finally stopped looking away, Tyler stood speechless. The confidence that had defined him all morning was gone. In its place stood a man forced to face the consequences of his own choices. Marcus took one final look around the lobby. This department doesn't need officers who enjoy power. He paused. It needs officers worthy of trust. Every person in the room understood. Brookhaven Police Department had just entered a new era, and for the first time in many years, justice had begun inside its own walls. No one left the lobby, not a single officer, not a single civilian employee, not even the reporters standing quietly near the entrance. Everyone understood they were witnessing a day that would be remembered inside Brookhaven Police Department for decades. Captain Harold Benton secured Tyler Briggs' firearm, badge, and department identification inside an evidence case. He turned toward two internal affairs investigators who had just arrived. Gentlemen, one investigator nodded. We'll take it from here. Tyler looked up slowly. I've served this department for 8 years. The senior investigator answered calmly. And today, we're going to review every one of them. Without another word, Tyler was escorted across the same lobby where he had proudly marched Marcus in handcuffs less than 2 hours earlier. No one applauded. No one celebrated. Justice did not need cheering. It only needed to be seen. As Tyler reached the front doors, he stopped. For a moment, he looked back at Marcus. I'm sorry. The apology was barely audible. Marcus held his gaze. I believe you regret what happened today. Tyler nodded weakly. I do. Marcus's expression remained composed. But someday, I hope you'll regret the people who came before me, too. Tyler's eyes slowly dropped. Only then did he truly understand. Marcus had never been speaking only for himself. He had been speaking for every citizen who had walked into a police station hoping to be treated fairly. Tyler quietly left the building. The glass doors closed behind him. No one watched him go. Their attention had already shifted toward the future. Mayor Eleanor Brooks stepped onto a small platform prepared for the morning ceremony. Originally, it had been arranged for a celebration. Now, it felt like the beginning of a promise. She faced the officers gathered before her. Today, our city learned something painful. Her voice echoed through the lobby. We invested millions of dollars in this building. She looked around at the polished marble floors, the newest patrol vehicles, the latest technology, the finest equipment. Then she turned toward Marcus. But one man wearing an old jacket reminded us that character cannot be purchased. Several officers lowered their heads. The mayor continued. A police department earns public trust one encounter at a time. And this morning, we failed. She paused. But failure acknowledged is the first step toward reform. The applause that followed was quiet, respectful, not for the speech, for the truth. Mayor Brooks stepped aside. Chief Ellington, the department is yours. Marcus slowly approached the podium. The gold badge on his jacket reflected the sunlight streaming through the glass entrance. He looked across the room. Some officers looked ashamed, some looked inspired, some looked uncertain. Marcus smiled gently. When I was 12 years old, my father took me to the small police station where he worked. The room became silent. He told me something I've carried every day since. Marcus looked toward the American flag standing beside the podium. Son, the badge doesn't make you bigger than the people you serve. It makes your responsibility bigger. He allowed those words to settle. This morning, I intentionally walked into this building wearing clothes that wouldn't impress anyone. He glanced down at his faded brown jacket. I drove an old pickup truck. I carried a worn leather folder. I introduced myself politely. I followed every procedure. Then he looked around the room. The only thing I refused to do was announce who I was. Several officers slowly nodded. Marcus continued. I didn't hide my identity. I simply gave this department an opportunity to reveal its own. The silence became deeply personal. Officer Noah Grant stood near the front of the crowd. He listened carefully to every word. Marcus looked toward him. Officer Grant, Sir, beginning tomorrow, you'll be assigned to the Community Relations Unit. Noah blinked. Sir? I want officers who remember that listening is part of policing. Emotion filled Noah's face. It'll be an honor. Marcus turned toward Sergeant Linda Chavez. Sergeant. Chief. Effective immediately. You're promoted to Deputy Chief of Professional Standards. The lobby erupted into applause. Linda stood speechless. She stopped, overwhelmed. Marcus smiled. This department needs leaders who are willing to challenge wrongdoing. You already proved you're one of them. Tears filled Linda's eyes. Thank you, Chief. Captain Benton stepped forward. And what about me? The room chuckled softly. Marcus extended his hand. "I was hoping you'd stay." Benton smiled. "I wasn't planning on leaving." The two men shook hands. It symbolized something larger than either of them. Experience. Meeting integrity. Marcus looked back toward the assembled department. "My first directive as chief is effective immediately." Every officer stood straighter. "Beginning next week, every member of this department, including me, will complete renewed training in constitutional policing, procedural justice, implicit bias, and community engagement." No one objected. There will also be mandatory review of every unresolved citizen complaint from the past 5 years. Several detectives exchanged surprised looks. Marcus continued, "If mistakes were made, we will admit them. If people were treated unfairly, we will apologize. If laws were broken, we will hold ourselves accountable." He paused. Public trust isn't restored with speeches. It's restored through thousands of honest decisions. The reporters scribbled furiously. Every sentence sounded like history. Marcus looked toward the front entrance one last time, the same doorway where he had been shoved. Mocked, handcuffed, humiliated. Now it stood wide open. Sunlight poured across the marble floor. Marcus smiled. From this moment forward, no one should ever walk through those doors wondering whether they'll be judged by their clothes, their neighborhood, or the color of their skin. They should know they'll be judged only by the truth. The entire lobby rose to its feet, not because protocol required it, because respect had finally returned to Brookhaven Police Department. Outside, Marcus's old pickup truck still sat quietly in the parking lot, exactly where Tyler had laughed at it. Marcus glanced toward it through the glass. Then he smiled to himself. Some people spent their lives trying to look powerful. Others quietly became the kind of leader who never needed to prove it. And on that unforgettable morning, Brookhaven learned the difference. True leadership is revealed not by how people treat those with power, but by how they treat those they believe have none. If this story reminded you that dignity should never depend on appearance, share your thoughts in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories where truth, courage, and justice always find their way to the light.